Okay, spawning up here on the right hand side of GSL Metropolis. He won last game and leveled the series at 1-all for Fusion Slugs. It is the Terran player Eagle. And down here at the bottom side of this map, it's the next player for Team mGG, the pink zerg player Dr. Goose.
As we can see, they've spawned in close air positions, and Goose is sending his overlord straight over, so Goose will be able to spot Eagle pretty quickly. We'll have to see if Goose shows his overlord or if he turns it back and hides it, making it just that bit harder for Eagle to find Goose.
Yeah, that's it. I tend to, as you say, just get just enough in range to see it and then pull it back, and then you usually wait it somewhere around here so that you can check the gas timings at some point later on. But we do also see a scouting drone going out for Dr. Goose as well, just to make sure what's going on.
Yeah, I've been seeing Goose doing a couple different openers lately, but the playstyle that has really been favoring is a really heavy ling style with mass upgrades, getting the melee attack and carapace up as high and fast as he can into the infestors, into the ogre, and just swarming over everything. So we'll have to see if he's going to be favoring that style in this game here.
Yeah, it is interesting. The beauty of Zerg is that you can tech switch almost at will when you get to late game, which makes it very difficult for your opponent to actually get a proper counter, as this overlord is going to spot the command center. But we do see a hatch first going down for Dr. Goose, which I do like. It'll be interesting to see how Eagle responds.
Yep, well, Eagle did spot the overlord in his base, so he changed the direction of his scouting SCV to go check the close air positions. Straight away he spots that hatch first, and he's going to go in and just check the rest of the base. Just probably check for the pool timing and gas timing, if he can. And looks like the pool's about to be dropped.
There it is.
So 17 into a gas.
So he is going to be playing pretty standard. We do see a command center going down for Eagle. It's going to be interesting to see whether he tries some sort of bunker pressure on this hatchery, which could be quite effective considering that that pool is not even up yet.
Yeah, I always think it's good just to put that one SCV that you got scouting, and even send over just one or two Marines that you have, and put down that tiny bit of pressure. Worst case scenario, you have to cancel and just slow down by a tiny bit. Best case scenario, it finishes and those two Marines can get a lot of either drone kills or can just deny scouting can deny mining for a pretty long time.
Yeah, it can be quite effective, but we don't see Eagle going to do that. He's just going to leave that SCV at the third, try and delay that third when Dr. Goose does try to take it. We do see 4 lings on the way. Quite standard, that queen coming out at both hatches. It's playing quite solidly so far. For Eagle, we do see a bunker going down, and that command center is about to finish, as he's still constantly producing Marines. He's throwing down a factory. So we could see some sort of heli in play, maybe.
Yeah. I have to say, so far I'm really impressed with Goose's timing on his overlords. Like, just when he was about to get supply box, the overlord pops, and then he can get straight back into his production. He's been doing that so far the entire game, so it's really got the timing for his supply worked out, making sure that he's not getting supply blocked. And it looks like it will be reactor Hellions as the reactor's being dropped on the barracks right next to the factory.
It is quite nice. He's taken the drones off gas just when he hit 100 gas, so he can get that speed upgrade, which is half done. We do see some lings at the front that are trying to poke in and see what they can see. I tend to like to leave a ling behind the mineral line of the Terran's third, just so you can get a read on exactly when that goes down.
Speaking of that, the Overlord has spotted the SCV down at Goose's third, so we'll have to see if he sends a ling to go deal with that, or if he's just going to leave it. He's making 10 drones at the moment, so just droning hard, as zergs love to do, and dropping his first spine to try and keep him safe from these incoming Hellions.
Yeah, I mean, just now he's taking his gas, so he did have a lot of minerals to burn, so that spine crawler is not a bad decision.
This is silly. Goose did spot the 2 gas being built by Eagle, so he does know that some sort of tech is coming. So that So hopefully he'll be prepared. He's got a number of 3 queens out of the 4th one up, and his zergling do spot the first 2 Hellions as they come out.
So he has brought his queens down to that ramp. He's building a roach warren to cut that off so they can't run straight up into the main. It's nice to see. If you ever talk to any of the Zerg pros like Pig or Mafia or Glade, they say if you see stuff coming out, you put queens on your route because they're really good units.
Yeah, we can see Eagle's going for a Banshee follow-up to this.
I like that.
He is getting the cloak, and Goose so far, his money is gas, so yeah, there we go, just getting the layer now, so hopefully we'll be able to get an Overseer in time, or maybe even put up a Evo Chamber or 2. As the Hellions head on in, I think that Goose will be pretty safe from these Hellions as far as entering the base, but it will still give him that bit of map control outside of the base.
Yeah, you can sort of stop that creep from...
Great scout by here. If you have a look at Eagle's base, Goose's Overlord is sitting right on top of the Banshee, seeing both Banshee making and Cloak being researched. So I'd like to see some Evo Chamber being dropped, and as soon as that layer's finished, an Overseer coming out.
Yeah,
see if he's going to react to this. And even there, he sees an 3rd command center being dropped inside the base, and a number of more barracks. So that Overlord is just getting a great scout of everything.
That's going to give him a lot of control over this game if he reacts well. We do see 2 Evo Chambers on the way, so he is going to have those spores out.
Yeah, the 2 Evo Chambers as well, getting the 2 instead of the 1, going to Goose's style that I was talking about beforehand, where he just goes like really strong upgrades. He'll just stop pumping out upgrades and won't stop until he's, just full. I like seeing getting an Overseer straight away, so that this Banshee can't cause too much trouble, but he does have a good number of queens. With a couple transfuses.
Do see some spores on the way and 2 overseers being morphed in, so hopefully those queens will be able to deal with it. I would like to see him using these idle lings to clear the debris leading down to his 3rd, or just to try and get that open, because he is currently on the same number of bases as the Terran. With those roaches out, as we can see, those Hellions aren't going to do that much anymore. His creep spread is starting to move out, but I really would like to see him take that 3rd, particularly with 800 minerals. And as I say, he's sending a drone down.
Definitely time for him to start expanding. I wouldn't even be surprised if he double expanded at this point, because he's a bit behind economically, so he needs to do something to catch back up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the same time, we do see a command center is being floated over to that 3rd. So he is going to be ahead of Dr. Goose, actually, in terms of bases. So it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to that. Does he choose to expand again, Dr. Goose, or does he try and push and do some damage? We do see both a Baneling nest and an infestation pit on the way for Dr. Goose. So he will be able to get those infestors and those banes out. At the same time, we've also got +1 armor and +1 ranged weapons for Dr. Goose. And for Eagle, we do see Siege Tech has been started, +1 weapons is half done, and he's adding on more production facilities, and also getting that +1 armor.
Goose starting to spread his creep, and as we can see, Eagle sent over his 2nd Banshee, which is just sitting by the 4th of Goose at the moment, heading into the 3rd, but there will be queens there ready to protect it. That 1st Banshee, I don't think it even killed a queen, so not really doing much damage. Might have killed a queen in that whole 1st engagement, but 1 Banshee for 1 queen, definitely not a good trade, but this one's definitely starting to do a bit more damage as the Overseers are all the way back in the main base, already killing 1 queen, looking like it's about to kill a 2nd, and if you can pull it back in time, reacts and pulls it back, then this Banshee will be worth a whole lot, and that's exactly what it's doing.
Really well done.
Yeah, nice pullback from him,
and
keeping that alive.
Dr. Goose has killed off that debris, so he's going to be able to spread his creep, join up all those bases, and he's starting to push it out. But he's also moving his army out to take that watchtower. I like that. All Zergs out there, you should always have the watchtowers if you can. You need to be able to see everything that's coming at you, so you can time your drones and your unit production.
Yep. We got 7 Infestors about to pop as Pathogen Glands has just finished, and his +1 on the range and Carapace just finished. So to see if he'll go straight into 2-2, as Eagle's already started his 2-2. He's getting a huge number of drones coming out, but the worker count is still in Eagle's favour. As the first run by into Eagle's 3rd.
He
Zerglings
has,
starting to swarm over it as the roaches come following in. He's going to have to lift and evacuate.
and he does just that. He sieges his tank, and he's just going to have to give that up for the time being until he can push down and clean that up. Which,
+2 carapace and +1 melee has started for Goose back home. As Stim is about to complete and combat shields has just started.
I think that was an important play there by Dr. Goose. He needed to do something to give himself a little bit of time to try and build some sort of buffer in the economy. I mean, he's been behind, but he hasn't been behind, he's been equal, but as a Zerg player, that's basically behind. So he's thrown down another 2 macro hatches.
I just saw that. I think I personally would have preferred him to go for a 4th, because...
I agree.
It's kind of... Okay, well, get engagement going on in the middle, and Goose is not controlling his units perfectly, with the siege tanks being caught up front. He ends up being killed by the roaches. So 2 siege tanks are taken out by these roaches. But the huge marine count will be able to push them back, but infestors were coming in.
Oh, just missing those fungals, yeah.
Yeah.
That could have done a lot of damage if he'd hit them, actually, because all those marines were clumped.
Eagle going for a double drop into the back of Goose's base, where he's got a bit of a spore crawler ring around the side of the base, but not the very back of it. And he's got no sort of overload spread out there, so he won't be able to see it coming. And all his units are way out in the middle of the map, but he's pulling them back a bit, so be in a bit better position to deal with this when it comes.
Yeah, he really should have overlords all the way along this line. Drops are a distinct possibility in TV.
Yeah, definitely with close air spawn and on just this map in general. You know, so strong for Terran dropped.
And here comes this drop. He does sneak past the Spore Crawler defense, and the Marines are going to go in, and they going to snipe that Queen. Depends what he wants to target. He's trying to kill it. Instead, he hasn't really made up his mind. He's now sniping drones. He's going to take out this other Queen and some Overlords, and it's going to do enough damage.
Not really committing to killing anything, so it's not doing any huge amount of damage. And that dropship is damn low in health, so it has to be careful not to fly over.
It's going to get fungled. There's the fungal.
There we go.
So he's going to get both of those dropships. But there is still one Marine there standing there killing drones.
Nice little damage. There's another drone killed, and it looks like it's about to get another one. There we go. We'll get one last one before it dies, another one. Yeah, that drop actually did nowhere near as much damage as it could have, because, as you were saying, he just wasn't committing to anything. He started attacking one Queen, started attacking another Queen, killed a couple workers, killed an Overlord. He needed to just decide, am I going to hit these Queens? Am I going to hit some tech? Am I going to hit these workers? Instead of half doing, you know, make sure he kills one good thing instead of half doing everything else.
That's it. I mean, it was actually a really nicely positioned drop. It snuck in past the Spore Crawlers, and it could have done a lot.
Yeah, we're really scary. If we look at Goose's, he's got 18 infestors at the moment, but only 7 zerglings. And how many larvae does he have? He's got only 4 larvae, so he's in some trouble, especially since he did lose those queens, and he hasn't been keeping up on his injects perfectly. So he does have all these macro hatches, but still not enough larvae to be getting the zerglings that he needs. He's got 40 in production at the moment with more larvae created, so he has to he's got a good bank, so he get these units pumping as fast as he can once he's got this production up. I think he needs to swap the queen that he's got in his main with the one at his natural at the moment, since that one's got nearly full energy, and there are 4 hatcheries in the main that need to be produced. At the same time, we've got another medivac heading towards the main to be dropped, but it's kind of, at the moment, flying straight into the spore, but Eagle's reacting and flying it around the spore crawlers. But 2 spine crawlers have just been dropped in the main to help with the defense there.
Yeah, and we also see a 4th and a 5th on the way for Dr. Goose, which is nice. I think he needed to do that a long time ago. This drop is actually going to still do quite a bit of damage here.
Actually, a big stuff up in Goose at the moment. He's got 11 workers on the reactor in the extractor in the base.
I think that's partially intentional, just to try and avoid them getting killed by the drop, but we'll have to wait and see.
That was there before.
Oh, okay.
And in come a huge number of Marines. So look at this unit count at the moment. We've got 43 zerglings and 18 infestors, so a huge amount of infestors. With those siege tanks, it's going to be hard for him to get close enough to use them.
It really is, especially without that neural parasite. They're not going to be very effective. He really needs those lings to buffer. That was quite nice by Eagle, though. He distracted the entire army by dropping in the main just to get his tanks forward. He's slowly pushing out another drop going up now.
Doing a slight elevator push into the main. It's definitely a great play by Eagle as he pushes into the zerg space.
He's testing.
Huge number of zerglings spawning at the moment.
He's testing Goose's multitasking here, as those 2 bases on the far left have now finished. But he's not going to be able to get drones over there very easily.
Yeah, he's got the queens are putting up a nice bit of defense in the base, but on the 3 2-3 upgrades on the Marines versus the 2-1 on the Queens, plus some medivacs. Okay, we got the Zerglings are running in to the main tank line at the moment. Baneling's connecting with a lot of Marines and a couple of tanks, and the Terran army is absolutely being wiped out right now by the huge number of Lings as they charge through, but the damage has been done, so he's able to lift and save a good number of Marines as he gets the Marine and Marauder force grounded in the middle, and not very many Zerglings left at the moment, but another 60 are being produced at the moment, so Goose really needs to start a momentum and start pushing up while he's got this more chance, because he did take a lot of damage from that. But if you look, he's got this 4th and 5th base ready, but not mining, so he needs to saturate them, especially from his natural way, his over-mining.
Yeah, I think what's letting him down at the moment more than anything is his injects. If you go and look around all his queens, they all have well over 50 energy. A lot of them have 200 or close to it. And if he's spending all those injects, he's getting a lot of extra lava, which he can use to spend that massive bank he's got going.
Yeah, I think he was definitely relying a bit too much on those extra macro hatches that he had in his main. He wasn't able to keep up, and he really needs to start his 3-3 straight away, as the Terran's 3-3 has finished. The Terran did just spot the 4th base. I'll see if there's got any confirmation of the 5th base. No, he's only seen the 4th base at this point, but he's sending a drop there, which will most likely spot the 5th base, but Goose Goose grabs the tower in time to see the drop coming, so hopefully he'll be able to react and get some nice defense up there, but he's dropping a bunch of spores and spines, but I don't think they'll be there in time. But Goose is sending his army up to the 5th to help defend that drop.
At the same time, we do see another drop from Eagle that looks like it's going to swing around into the main again. The Ultralisk cabin has finished, and it is half done researching that chitinous plating. I am disappointed by the fact he hasn't researched 3-3 yet, or adrenal glands, considering the amount of money and gas he's got.
Yeah, definitely the 3-3, because he's had that available for a while. The drop is caught with fungal, and a couple of infested Terrans being dropped.
At the same time, Eagle's noticed that his army is split up, and he's pushing his Marine tank army up into the choke between the natural and the main. Nice play, he's sieging those tanks, he's trying not to get them split up. That spore is actually doing some damage to the medivacs, but it looks like we're going to see another elevator play.
Yeah, I think with the way that Goose was positioned, he was in a great way that he could have flanked that army, but he decided to keep his army all together in one big ball. We'll have to see if he's going to be charging into this. We have a look at the numbers, and 6 Ultralists on the way, so does he want to wait for the Ultralist to finish, or does he just need to go in and save it? It looks like it's just going in for the save.
And there is some nice splitting there by Eagle. He's got his Marines well positioned, but the Infestors are going to come in and get some fungals. Nice fungals there.
Oh, those Marines killing all of the Infestors, though. That's really bad for Goose. At the same time, the drop in the main about to take out the spawning pool. See, he's got these 2 full NG queens, and isn't using any transfuses or anything, which he really needs to do.
Yeah.
His Bane's being picked off by tanks, and got a couple connects, but not enough.
The Ultralists popped, but they're on move command.
Yep.
He just had not quite enough Ling Banes and too many Infestors, I think. If you're spending his energy on his queens just that little bit better, as you say, he might have been able to actually do quite well here. He's got a bunch of idle Lings that are just sitting there. I don't know if he knows if he has them.
Yeah, let's have a look at those ones on the natural with the Roach. Each time I'm surprised that Goose is holding this off. Like, after each attack I think, okay, this is it, Goose is dead, but he always holds it off and, still has a good number of units after each hold.
Well, he does have a 40 supply lead at the moment and a considerable bank, as opposed to Eagle, who does not have much minerals at all. So Goose really needs to try and make something happen here while he has that significant advantage. He's got all 5 bases now mining. That economy is starting to kick in. As we said, if he took those bases that little bit earlier, he could be in a much stronger position.
As you can see, Eagle had started mixing Marauders, but only 1 at a time, and I think now that he knows that Marauders are out, he needs to, that Ultralists are out, he really needs to start mixing in more than just 1 at a time. Goose going around, is he aware of that army? No. Looks like he's going to force Eagle to either come back and defend or go for some sort of base race.
Yeah, Eagle's just sitting there at the moment. We do see a lot of barracks that just aren't producing at the moment because he doesn't have the minerals to keep up with it. As the Ultras are pushing in at this planetary, they're going to take that out. The SCV's on repair, but they're not going to be enough. Eagle's army is still in the middle of the map, so Goose is not really in any trouble now, morphing in a lot of Banelings. At the same time, he's finally getting that +3 ground and armor, and throwing down the Spire as well, so Broodlords could come into play if this game goes much longer.
Yeah, Goose was smart, checked the fifth, saw there was none. We've completely mined out from the natural, basically mined out from the main. The gas is finished in the main. So at the moment, Goose is looking so good, and it's just this economy that he's had all game is just keeping him in. You know, he was behind to start off with his economy, but once he got it going, he's just been, you know, once he got his economy in gear, he's just had such a strong lead with it.
Yeah, that 4th and 5th really just made all the difference, and if you imagine how much stronger he would have been if he'd thrown them up slightly earlier.
Yeah.
We do see an engage here.
Force coming in, starting with some infested Terrans to block it. He's got infestors making sure that no Marines are going to be able to charge him with their fungals. And now with that base being lifted, Eagle is not mining at all. Goose is taking a 6th and 7th base with the 2 center bases on the map. So, with the no mining, it's looking like Goose at this stage has this.
Does. Unless Eagle can make something happen with this last army.
Yeah, looking like he's going to go for a big trade and a base race. He does have some units at Goose's bases doing a bit of damage. Do you know where Goose's spawning pool? Yeah, see, he didn't remake the spawning pool, which is definitely really painful.
Oh yeah, big time. And he's built it. He's built it in quite an open spot. If this army does come in, it's just going to snipe it straight away.
Yeah, at this stage, does Goose need to send back a couple of his units to help defend this? Because I'm not sure if he's gotten... I don't think he'll have enough to defend this at home. He's got, you know, spine crawlers through his top bases, which will buy time, but that number of Marines and Marauders, they're just going to tear through it. So he is sending back his infested Terrans, but as you said, yeah, the positioning of that spawning pool and Ultra Cavern, that's just going to get, you know, picked up pretty damn quickly.
Although Eagle has missed it.
Is Joss about to finish as Eagle's army moves in time, so we'll have to see if it will finish.
He's not targeting them down. He's not targeting them down. Oh, they finished.
The tanks are out by themselves with no detection, and Goose is going to drop a bunch of infested Terrans all over these tanks, so we'll have to see if he'll be able to pick that off. And then once he picks that off, he can hold that ramp with the with the fungals, and those Marines shouldn't be able to get down.
No, and he didn't actually see that Ultraless Cavern or the spawning pool there, so they did both finish, and we do see a large number of Ultras being produced. So I think Goose is going to be able to hold this, but the beauty of Terran is you can just lift off in this scenario.
Fungals get dropped. And
oh, nice fungals. And that Ultras.
Pop out, great timing, so much damage.
And I think that's the game right there. There's 100 supply lead for Goose.
And is coming charging in to sandwich these units in, not giving them any tip. So it's a good little try by Eagle to try and go for that counter attack, but Goose sent back in good infestor count.
And GG.
Ultras is able to hold.
Well played, both players. That was a really nice game.
Yeah, very intense, epic game. Yeah, we were checking the lava index throughout the game, and even though he had a huge number of hatcheries, his lava count was still low.
Do you want to do the introductions for this one?
I think I will. Starting on the left side, as our red Terran is the new player into the series, we have Fusion Slugs Kez. And coming over onto the right side of the map, we have mGG's Dr. Goose, winning the last game with a huge count of infestors and ultras just charging up.
Yeah, it was quite nicely done in the end by Dr. Goose. I was a little worried for him there at a few points, but he pulled it off. It'll be interesting to see if he goes to that same sort of style, or if he'll try something different, maybe a faster third. This time he's going the extractor cancel.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, most games that I see of him, he prefers that heavy upgrade, huge number of lings into infestor into ultra style, and does it well. That game was a bit different to what I have seen. You know, the slower third. The upgrades were a lot later, but I think a lot of that has to do with reacting to Eagle through that early game with the Hellions.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, Eagle was putting on a lot of pressure to Dr. Goose. He was dropping, he was harassing with the Hellions, he was stretching his multitasking. The Banshees, yeah. We are going to see a 15 hatch on the way for Dr. Goose, so same as last game. And for Kez, we do see the wall off with that depot. It kind of rules out any real two racks pressure. You can't really get the second racks out producing with the amount of minerals you have if you put that depot down.
Yeah, but So it does deny the scouting, but as you said, it slows down the second racks and also means that it's not going to be any extremely early gas type thing. That's one of the things I do love to see players do, though, is Terran players do the full wall-off block, make it look like it's going to be gasless expand, and then drop 2 gases and do some sort of Banshee play or something.
Yeah, if you early on as a Zerg player, if you're not expecting the double port Banshees, they are just really hard to deal with. Even with a large number of queens, if he techs straight to them.
Yeah, start getting that rolling number and snowball effect as it gets out of control.
Exactly.
As we can see, Goose does have vision of Kez of the top gas of Kez. So he knows that, knows that a double Banshees are going to be coming out, and the command center is being dropped by Kez down out the natural, as he's got 2 Marines watching the ramp and trying to deny any sort of scout.
I do wonder about Goose's pool timing, just theory crafting, I guess, here for a little bit, while both players are quite content to macro. He sort of throws it down about 17, 18, and I wonder if sort of 15, 16 is better. When both of those hatches finished, he had about 450 minerals. Now, if it was me, if you throw it down at 16, you finish with about 350 to 400, which means you can get both queens out and the 2 lava worth of zerglings straight away, and you don't have that excess minerals floating. But just a bit of theory crafting, I guess.
The slightly later pool allows you to get those extra, couple of drones. So it's a bit of an initial...
Oh yeah, that's the trade-off for sure.
Yeah, trade-off for the slow economy, but it's also a bit more risky. Because any sort of 2 barracks plays, and that a lot harder to hold with the slower lings and the slower queens.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the 2 racks is really what would punish, I guess, that sort of extra drones, squeezing in those extra drones. But we do see the orbital command on the way at the natural for Kez. He's also thrown down a couple of extra barracks. He's taken his second gas, it's now mining as well. And he's beginning to get some SCVs down on his natural. Meanwhile, for Dr. Goose, not a lot's going on. He's actually got up to 900 minerals, so I don't know if...
Huge amount of minerals at the moment that he's not spending, is getting his gas ready, but really I just see him expanding, or at least dropping macro hatch very soon. He's got 10 workers being built, so it's just getting a huge burst of workers, and it looks like he's going for his expansion at the moment, so he did use all that money quickly, but it never should have been getting that high in first place.
Yeah, I was watching the production tab for a second there, and it just went blank for him, so I think he must have just... yeah. We do see a tech lab and a reactor going down for Kez on those barracks, and at the same time we also see a factory going down. So pretty standard. Nice to see Dr. Goose taking that third much, much earlier. It's just going to make him so much stronger as the game goes on.
Yeah. This time Kez skipping, well, different player, so Kez not choosing to do the reactor Hellion, instead getting his tech going with stim a bit quicker and getting a good barracks count up first, clearing out those zerglings at the front of the base. And like you were saying earlier, it would have been good at the moment to have some sort of overlord or zergling at the third, so that he can have some sort of inclination on Kez's third timing.
We do see Dr. Goose has gone for the all-popular 6 queens build that's going around the ladder at the moment, and it's really quite effective, but you need to be constantly trying to spend those minerals because they do go pretty insane. But it does actually do quite well holding off things like Hellion pushes and...
just that crease spread and map control.
Yeah. We do see a small marine contingent coming in here for Kez. It's not going to do much damage as those slow lings have popped, and they are going to clean up all those marines. But he is going to get a good read on what's going on, I think. If we just check his vision, he has seen that third. Yeah. He has seen the third, so he knows that's up. And he'll be able to react accordingly.
Well, it's just about to finish. If you have a look at the energy of the Queen so far, you can see that, Goose's injects have been a lot better already this game.
Yeah, much better.
So like I was saying, last game it might have just been a bit off, or just trying something a bit new with the extra hatches. As you what you're saying about the 6 Queen, when I play off-race Zerg, I'm probably about a gold plat level. Hell, I just love getting that mass Queen around the map in an ordinary serious way, getting 5 or 6 on the actual in the map, spreading the creep, and being able to help with defense whilst also having the ones that hatch rate. I always say that would be terrible for us to play my zerg properly because I just have way too much fun spreading creep. Isn't it?
Well,
Okay.
people forget how valuable it actually is to spread creep. I mean, it gives map vision and increases the speed of all your units, and it's just annoying for the other team, basically.
That pushes. Okay, big marine push coming into the middle, and Goose miscontrolling his zerglings, sending them straight into die. Overlord is getting into Kez's base with good timing, just as the turret rings are being put up to have a scout off, and he can see the general gist of what's going on. Nothing too out of the ordinary.
I think the problem for Dr. Goose is that he doesn't have any zerglings out. He's building 36, but this marine push is actually going to be able to do quite a bit of damage.
Losing those zerglings in the middle really was bad. You need to pull them back and control these queens, right?
He's morphing a lot of
trying
banes.
to go for the banelings for right, and he needs to get these zerglings building time, but I don't think... Yeah, bad place to be morphing in these banelings for sure.
Yeah, that's not good.
Oh, that is very painful for Goose.
He should be able, Kez should be able to snipe this third here if he's quick.
This third should die.
Or the drones are going to get out, but he is going to target down that third. The queen can't fit though, which is unfortunate.
But some zerglings being able to do a good bit of damage, but nice control by Kez where he got a couple of his marines to clean up the queen and the zerglings while the rest sniped. Once again, building banelings at the very front. He really needs to pull those banelings back a bit to build them. So he just keeps building them right in front of where the marines are going to be.
The only problem for Kez is that those medivacs are now out of energy, so the marines keeping on simming and it's dropping their health really quite low, but Goose doesn't have any units. He's got 5 infestors on the way, but there's the GG.
Yeah.